Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever stared at your financial options and felt completely overwhelmed by the absolute alphabet soup of modern finance, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a highly focused, super visual approach to demystifying all of this. We're going to take all that confusing jargon and organize it into something you can actually use. Think of it like a practical, reliable financial tool belt. All right, let's dive right in.
401k, HSA, IRA, it honestly looks like someone just spilled a bowl of Scrabble tiles, right? It's completely valid to look at these acronyms and feel just a little bit lost. But instead of getting bogged down in the dense tax code, we're going to visualize this simply. I want you to think of each of these accounts not as some complex legal contract, but as a specific tool in a doodle-style tool belt. Each one has a unique job, a unique shape, and its own specific set of instructions.
So why are we building this tool belt in the first place? Well, the goal of every single account we're talking about today is basically to act as a staging ground to grow your very own army of dollar bills. Just picture this tiny stickman army of dollars multiplying over and over. When you put money into these accounts, you aren't just saving it. You are deploying your dollars to work for you, utilizing what is often called the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest.
To get our little army mobilized, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover employer accounts, individual retirement accounts, the math behind pre-tax versus Roth, health savings accounts, and finally, taxable brokerage accounts.
Okay, let's kick things off with tool number 1, employer accounts. This is really all about building your foundation.
What's actually really interesting here is just how many variations there are for the exact same heavy-duty foundational tool. Whether you work in a corporate office and have a 401k, or maybe you're a teacher with a 403b, a government employee with a 457, or a federal worker with a TSP, honestly, these are all essentially doing the exact same job. They let you launch your wealth building journey right from your paycheck, and crucially, this is often where your employer is going to match your contributions. Let me be incredibly clear about this. An employer match is free money. And what is better than free money? Absolutely nothing.
Now, these foundational tools are heavy-duty for a reason. In 2024, the maximum salary deferral you can make to a 401k, 403b, or 457 if you are under 50 years old is a massive $23,000. And hey, if you're over 50, you get an additional catch-up allowance of $7,500. So that brings your total up to $30,500. This is by far the biggest bucket you have for your dollar bill army.
But, and this is a big but, there are strict rules. I want you to imagine a little doodle stickman literally locked out of this bucket by a giant padlock. Because these are specifically designed as retirement accounts, you really do not want to access these dollars before you hit age 15 and a half. If you do, you're going to get hit with some nasty taxes and painful penalties. These funds are for the future, not for today.
All right, moving on to tool number 2, individual retirement accounts, or IRAs. Think of these as your personal hand tools.
Look, not everyone has access to an employer plan. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. Anyone with earned income can open an IRA. Doesn't matter if you work for a giant corporation, a small business, or if you're totally self-employed. For 2024, the annual contribution limit is $7,000 for those under 50, with an extra $1,000 catch-up if you're over 50. So yeah, it's definitely a smaller bucket than the 401k, but the beauty of it is that it is completely under your control.
Next up, Section 3, the math, pre-tax versus Roth. Think of this part as the instruction manual for those tools we just talked about.
So the really crucial thing to understand is that both your employer accounts and your IRAs generally come in two distinct flavors. Try to imagine our little stickman standing on a scale, carefully weighing current taxes against future taxes. On the left side, we have pre-tax contributions. These give you a tax benefit right now by actually reducing your current income on your tax return. On the right side, we have Roth contributions. Now, these give you zero tax benefit today, but when you pull that money out in retirement, every single penny, including all that amazing compound interest, is completely tax-free. So how do you choose? Well, let's break down the math.
It really all comes down to your current marginal tax rate.
If you add up your marginal federal tax rate and your marginal state tax rate, and that combined number is greater than 30%, there is a very, very good chance you should be utilizing pre-tax contributions. Why? Because avoiding a 30% or higher tax hit today is just incredibly valuable for your current cash flow. Conversely, if you add up your federal and state marginal rates and you're sitting below 25%, odds are you should be heavily leaning into Roth contributions. I mean, paying a relatively low tax rate today in exchange for literal decades of tax-free growth, that is an absolute game changer for your long-term wealth.
Now, what if you were sitting in that gray zone? You know, a combined marginal rate between 25 and 30%. Well, the strategy gets a bit more personalized there. You have to look at your unique time horizon, your specific financial goals, and your own risk capacity to decide exactly which doodle bucket to fill. There really isn't a simple one-size-fits-all answer when you're in the middle.
All right, let's shift gears to Section 4, the secret weapon. We are talking about health savings accounts, or HSAs, basically the hidden multi-tools of the financial world.
Now, to even access an HSA, you have to be covered under an eligible high-deductible health plan. But if you are, this incredible tool unlocks for you. Looking at the 2024 limits, the HSA sits at $4,150 for individuals. And if you have family coverage, that actually doubles to $8,300. Sure, it might look kinda small sitting next to the giant 401k bucket, but trust me, the power of this account is just unmatched.
Here's why. The HSA features what's famously known as the triple tax advantage. Step 1, you get an immediate tax deduction when the money goes in. Step 2, you invest those dollars and they grow tax deferred. Step 3, when you pull the money out for qualified medical expenses, it is completely tax-free. And guys, it actually gets better. You can literally go back in time and reimburse yourself for prior medical expenses years down the road. This allows your investments to just sit there and compound untouched in the meantime. Actually, I want to drop a quick bonus tip right here for our focus learners. The HSA can sometimes be quadruple tax advantage. No joke. If your employer allows you to make your HSA contributions directly through payroll deductions, you don't just get the income tax benefits. You actually save on payroll taxes, like FICA, on every single paycheck. That right there is exactly why fully utilizing an HSA is considered one of the absolute highest priorities in smart financial planning. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, taxable brokerage accounts. I like to call this one the catch-all bucket. Technically speaking, a brokerage account isn't a retirement account at all, but it is wildly valuable. Just think about how it contrasts with everything else we've talked about so far. Retirement accounts have annual caps, right? Brokerage accounts are infinite. You can put in literally as much as you want. Retirement accounts are locked up until age 59 and a half. Brokerage accounts give you full liquidity. You can access your money anytime without those annoying age penalties. And sure, while you don't get the upfront tax deductions or the tax-free growth, when you do sell investments in a brokerage account, they're often subject to highly favorable long-term capital gains tax rates, which are typically way lower than ordinary income rates. So what's the ultimate takeaway from analyzing all these different tools? Well, the goal is to build 3 distinct, well-funded doodle buckets: a pre-tax bucket, a Roth bucket, and a taxable brokerage bucket. If you have money in all 3 of those, you hold the ultimate power in retirement. You get to completely pick and choose which taxes you pay and exactly when you pay them. It keeps your money perfectly optimized during financial independence. Of course, simply owning a tool belt is really only half the battle, isn't it? Knowing which tool to grab first, well, that's the other half. And that is exactly where a master blueprint comes into play. Something like the financial order of operations. It's a tried and true 9-step process designed to tell you exactly what to do with your very next dollar. Following a structured system like this automatically organizes your tool belt for you, so you never have to guess whether you should be funding your 401k, your Roth IRA, or your HSA first. So, we've laid out the tools, we've decoded the acronyms, and we've shown you the math to multiply your dollar bill army. The instruction manual is right here in front of you. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder today. Knowing what you know now about the math and the rules, which of these tax buckets will you fill with your next dollar? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.
Freedom isn't given, it's built, and it starts with what you do next.